Hello, welcome back. Magandang gabi. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this second episode of 𝗬𝗵𝗷𝗶 ARCHILLAX podcast, a podcast where we talk about architecture, professional practice, and beyond. We are your hosts for tonight. I am Jasmine Guadno.
And I am Angela Di Castro. Archillax ka muna, tara, usap tayo.
So please come and join us in our kwentuhan this evening. Feel free to comment and tag your friends and colleagues, and even your non-architect peers who plan to work abroad to join us tonight with our globally known guests. And if you have any questions, wonders, just send them through our comment section and we'll try to answer them at the end of each segment. Joining us tonight, all the way from the Middle East, is a senior associate of Godwin Austin Johnson in United Arab Emirates. Being a member of International Royal Institute of British Architects, member of the United Architects of the Philippines, integrated and accredited professional organization of architects, leadership in energy and environmental design Green Associate. She was hailed as Architect of the Year in 2019 by the Filipino Times in UAE and recently awarded as the Middle East Consultants Awards Woman in Construction Professional of the Year and Dubai Supermom Award 2021. It's a lot. Let's all welcome architect Cristina Espinosa Irlanda.
And joining her tonight is an associate professor from School of Design and Architecture in 𝗵𝗵𝗷𝗶 Academy of Higher Education, Dubai. Awarded as the best professor in traditional architecture studies in the Abu Dhabi Education Leadership Awards in 2019, and having part of various exhibitions featuring his watercolor paintings in numerous countries including UAE, Italy, and Malaysia. We have Dr. 𝗤𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗶. So that's it for our next segment. This episode, we'll be talking about career challenges and the effects of the pandemic. Being in a place with different culture, the environment from culture and environment from what you are accustomed to. There are these questions coming up. Like, what are the major challenges that you experience working abroad as an architect, and how do you cope up with cultural differences in the workplace? Like, starting off with architect Christine,
What are
this
the major
picture seemed to
challenges?
be
Yeah,
here's a
challenges.
picture of architect Christine.
Hi.
Yes, you seem to
That
be
was just me
leading
speaking.
important meetings here. Yeah.
Yes. This actually is a reason for like last year. So this is where I'm a senior associate now. But starting off with the career in in the Middle East, particularly, as a woman in construction, fortunately, I have not encountered too much discrimination. When I came in here, it was like about 14 years ago. Um, the struggle that I had is particularly just looking after myself for a person for a personal level, because I was really brought up and I've been living with my parents, and my parents would always be there to cook, and I was just the life that I had was just university and home, and after that I also worked in the Philippines and in a smaller boutique company, and then going to Arquitectonica. The first one was Art Atelier. But regarding that, just living alone and having being in a place that you don't know anything about, it's a big step, which is quite challenging. The more we challenge ourselves, the better for our growth, anyways. But fortunately, in the workplace, in the company that I'm in, I've been treated very well, to be honest. And I think the company, Godwin Austin Johnson, is not really looking at the employees as per the age or race or anything like that. They they are trying to look at what you can actually add in the company or as an employee, and what you can contribute within the company itself. But there are some time that one thing that I would remember that's quite critical was that there are times that attending client meetings would be quite a challenge, particularly because I look younger than my age.
Yes,
um
indeed.
yeah, I look younger than my age, and I'm not as tall as the Westerners or even the Indians, Dr. Shaji. I don't know what you guys are eating, but you are guys are so tall. Or maybe it's just that we are
You
at
haven't
this
seen
height.
me. You haven't seen me, so I'm not that tall.
No. But whenever we're in the client meeting, I have to present myself very well in terms that I had to wear glasses, just to make me look older, if that makes sense. And the way I speak, it's just everything about me looking at myself, that thing. So sometimes I am there are times that the credit goes to my colleagues who are actually years younger than me, but then yeah, because yeah, I do the design part of the projects and also thinking behind it. So there are times that the credit is given to them directly in the client. There was also an occasion where in a kickoff meeting in a client side, during break times, the client would ask about my background because I look younger than the people who are beside me, and also being the only Filipina in there, and also being the only woman within that panel, within that team. I would I would stand out because it's like weird having a young one, and they would think that I'm an intern within the team. And then whenever I tell them, though, I've got like 12 years, 15 years experience in the, and then they will like be surprised. And how long, the next question will be, how long have you been with how long have you been with God, with Austin Johnson? And which I would respond, it's almost years now, and now I'm actually with them for 14 years, and now I'm leading the team and also training young ones. Yeah, I think it all boils down to how we bring ourselves in. The way I was brought up, because I grew up in Tondo, I was able to see how difficult life is. So, where I am now, I'm able to speak to anyone, from nannies to drivers to office boy, and I would treat them very fairly. I would speak to directors, I would speak to clients, and yeah, it's like that. It's like everyone would be a vessel that I can learn from, and I would treat them fairly. And I think that's some part of me being brought up in Tondo. That humble appearance, or the humble character that they get to see, is actually helping me out to reach out and understand my clients more, and also not just my clients but also my colleagues in the office. um yeah, so there you go. I think discrimination, no, it's not allowed in here, particularly in UAE. It's very much not allowed in here. The women in here are gaining are given priority, to be honest. Basic priority would be public transportation. The women gets in even though the men have been waiting there for hours. So so that's a good part in here in the Middle East. The diversity is very the women in here are empowered, and it's really good to know that the amount of women taking the architecture course for on a student basis, with the amount of interns and applicants that I am getting as of the moment, the women are more compared to the number of men who are actually applying, which is really really fascinating, because at the time when I was in the university, we are the minority. I'm not sure now, maybe it's 50-50, Dr. Shaji. I'm not sure about the percentage of the
It
students
used
now.
to be 50-50 during our times,
Ah, okay.
but predominantly it would be men
Ah,
more
okay. Because
than.
for me, we're studying architecture. I think we're just about 20% or 30% of the class. So at that
Mhm,
time,
mhm,
knowing in that setup already, I am aware of how the profession is male dominated,
mhm.
and I have trained myself to be part of that already, and I've challenged myself, and I've accepted that I'm already in that position. But then know that being part of the minority, you are able to give out something very unique because you don't think similarly as the other ones. and that's a power that we all have, and that's something that we can use for our advantage. I think I'm sorry, I really tend to speak more than the allotted time that I have, so please feel free to stop me.
It's
And then so
fine, Dr.
I give the floor to you, Angela and Jess.
Well, it can be really tough, but you just have to be strong, right? Focus on your goal. And it's great that in UAE, discrimination is not allowed. It's really, really great about that. And knowing that being part of a minority, especially I'm a girl too, Ate Jess is a girl, is a woman, you are a woman architect, and we can give something unique, every one of us,
I totally
regardless our gender, yes.
yes,
Yeah,
I
we
agree
all
with
have to go for not really diversity or not really equality for about gender, but it has to
Mhm.
be diverse. It's not just separating women or men. It's not about that. Everyone within the company, if you're in an organization, you're trained as an architect. Everyone is an architect. There's no such thing as a male architect, female architect. There's no such thing.
yeah.
There's just
Yeah.
architects. That's it.
It's really about your personality, not really about your gender. Anyway, for our next
Mhm.
question, Dr. Shaji, since we heard you spent time studying in Australia and you've experienced being a professor teaching at prestigious universities, the question is, what is the difference between being an architect in practice and teaching architecture in the academe or university?
Oh, there you go. Okay. So those are again some of my friends, and the one on the left is my wife. So don't mistake, please. So, but yeah, we had a lot of friends, from different cultures. So one you see on the right is from Japan, Masayo, and the one on the extreme right is Myla Andaman. She's originally from the Philippines, now settled in Melbourne. So multiculturalism was something which was, always in. I think it's part of being an Indian in a way. I would imagine, because if you think about India, I am South Indian, but I was brought up entirely in the western part of India, Gujarat. Okay, I know by default most Indians know at least three or four languages, because one would be their mother tongue, one would be the language they follow or speak where they are located or studied, and so these things are quite common for us, and it's very easy for Indians to blend. So that's why you see lots of Indians everywhere. You can't help it. We are there. First of all, it's a huge population, so we tend to get out. And then and in terms of multiculturalism, so like I said, uh, there's a saying in Greek, you deserve what you get. Meaning that it really boils down to your own personality, I think. Apart from the fact that you are an architect or anyone for that matter, but I think deep inside you must be a human being first, and understand the fact that the people on the other side are also human beings with their own set of problems and pleasures, like you might have, and and that endears you to this globe. It makes you a global citizen rather than pinning you down to being an Indian or anyone. Of course, you are an Indian, uh, but the fact that I've made so many friends, with all sorts of backgrounds. The photograph on the left is a place is in the house of a very dear friend of mine who's still in Australia. uh, and it's just endearing to know that you can connect with people of all sorts. um, I think it boils down to your personality also, how much you open up yourself and how much you listen, and rather than and imposing things on others, and then trying to understand different cultures. I know I'm rambling, but yeah, I hope it's making sense. So if you think about, if the question was what's the difference between teaching and practice, so I did some practice after my bachelor's in an office for 3 4 years while my friends had gone to do their masters. So if you remember what I said earlier, so I was in a kind of depression mode, where I had to join an office, and get emails and messengers from them saying, when are you coming? That never happened. So I ended up working. And then when I ended up doing my master's and PhD, obviously I was getting into teaching. So in terms of professional life, I wouldn't say that practice. I liked practice. I still would love to design. Um, and as I've grown older, I've started understanding things a little better, and things are making more sense to me architecturally, if you want to say. But the joy that I get when I teach is unimaginable. I mean, I cannot compare it with anything else right now. So I'm so happy teaching, and it takes me on a different level altogether. And when I'm in the classroom, uh, I'm a different person, and I know what's going on, and I'm in control, and there's so much to tell, there's so much to talk, and there's so much to inquire and design and discuss that I'm not sure. I'm rambling, I know, but teaching is something that has been my passion, and I think it will remain for a while now.
That's right. Indeed, it's exciting to connect with people regardless of the race, and it's great to know their culture as well. Dr. Shaji, Architect Alan here has question for you. Why are
Dangerous.
architects are being portrayed dramatically in movies and series? Example, Ted Mosby.
Alan, I'll see you tomorrow, man. Wait. Well,
Yes.
I don't know, because I think the whole idea. I was reading an article about how architects have been portrayed, and it's quite interesting because these architects, if you think about the Fountainhead, Ayn Rand's novel, which was made into a movie, the architect is a hero. He's a egoist. He's hardcore. He's full of ego, and he won't take no for an answer, and he goes ahead and does that building. I hope you have watched that film, Freshers. If you haven't, you must. It's an interesting movie.
We're taking notes,
But
Dr.
sorry.
We're taking notes. We'll watch the
Okay,
movie.
great. So it's a nice book also. You should read the book before watching the movie. That will be more helpful. Uh, and uh, and then the whole idea being an architect as someone who knows many things. So we are we may not be master of anything, but we are almost jack of all trades. You know a bit of philosophy, you know a bit of fine arts, you know a bit of sociology, anthropology, history. It's all fed to us in different ways through so many things, through documentaries, through books, through design discussions, through your juries. You get to learn so many things that you realize that you understand things in a deeper way, slightly more deeper way. So you end up becoming, I don't know, I think passionate about life. If I were to put, I don't know, Christine, if you would agree, because we become passionate about life, rather than the thing that we are so rich, not in terms of money, but in terms of understanding of the cultures and understanding of the way people live, the way people sleep, sit, walk, talk, in groups. And so we're talking about spaces. We're talking about spaces and how people mold these spaces, and we are those who design these spaces for them. So it makes us probably softer. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I'm using the right word, but I think that could be Alan. I don't know. Maybe that's your answer, perhaps. Maybe that's why people think that we are romantic. Perhaps we are. We never know.
Well, it has been voted that architects are the sexiest, and women actually prefer architects. I think it's
Well,
because
I should have thought
honestly,
about it before marrying.
yeah, there was some statistics that happened that was published, and as well, there was an ad by Banana Republic before that
Mhm.
says architects are actually sexy. So I think it adds up to the hype. Um,
It's true.
I feel that architects are well run rounded in terms of the way we speak, that's in terms of the way we present ourselves, our ideas, and knowing how, and also in how we present how creative we are, the creativity and how much we care on things that we like to do. I think that actually adds to that sexiness, if I may say. Um, I don't know with Architect Alan why he was asking this about the movie, but the way I see it is that the thought of being called as an architect, for example, the Matrix. They said that the architect who designed the whole Matrix, right? So whenever you think about an architect, it's someone who actually thinks of things, or someone who actually controls the whole stuff.
Yep.
And we could actually, recently we have an influx of architects that are actually in IT. Yeah, right.
Hmm.
Like IT architects and the systems architect, they use
Yes.
the term itself, architect, because that alone says that that person is knowledgeable about certain things, and that's something that, for example, women or anyone who would look for someone as a partner would think that. On my personal point of view, it's not something written anywhere though, but it's just that everyone, when we think about someone as a partner, would think that it's actually sexy that that person knows what he or she is actually thinking, and the way he would envision what happens in the future, which is what architects are. And that's actually being able to present it well creatively, and also, yeah, a whole rounded combination or of an individual that has
Yeah.
this disposition, or say disposition, just like what you said, architects would be tough and things that we try to decide, or we try to say what's on our mind and stick to that, and that's actually power, and that's actually sexy. I think that's the main thing. But yeah, it's
All right.
actually good to be an architect and also being romanticized in the movies, that it's actually sexy. But at the same time, what it doesn't show is the challenges that architects actually goes through. Behind it, it's not about the glitters, it's not about those, it's about sleepless nights. It's about getting into the construction, being dirty because you have to be on site, you have to be out there under the sun, you have to coordinate with different types of people, you have to communicate with different sorts of people. You have to be an architect and at the same time a marketing personnel, a sales personnel, a tourism personnel, a lead, or a sustainability personnel, an engineer on top of one profession on top of another. And that alone, when we say architect are the sexiest, is that, yeah, maybe it's a combination of all of this, and the way we present ourselves and the way we talk and the way we tend to be
Yeah.
what do you call that,
Jack of
jack
all
of all
trades.
trades, and we tend to be more than what we are. And
Yeah.
I think that's sexy for me, and
Yes, I
good that we
totally.
are, we are presented that way in the movies. So thank you, Halloween. Thank you for the movies, Bollywood, and so yeah, as good for us.
I agree with
Yeah.
you, Architect Christine. We have to be cognizant of the general knowledge of everything. And speaking
Mm.
of Architect Christine, I think your mother is watching us over from
Hi, Mama. See, I
Tondo.
told you. My mom. Mama. Yeah, so, hello po.
All right. I hope our viewers are taking notes from what our guests are telling us because it's not every day that we get to hear this firsthand experiences and thoughts.
Si
Absolutely. I
Architect,
am very thrilled,
Architect Alan
especially that
putting
I'm
us
still a
on spot.
student. Yes. It's hot seat. and these insights are very helpful, especially to our viewers and listeners who are still a student and graduating students. And here's another question for the both of you. How does the pandemic affect and the architectural practice abroad,
Mhm.
especially in relation to office setup and even respective design processes with all those COVID and post COVID-19 considerations? Architect Christine?
I think in our company, in our practice, right, even before the pandemic happened, we have several employees who are actually working from home, like remotely. So working remotely isn't a new thing in our company where I'm from. It's just that the way pandemic happened is just it was really sudden. The company is already aware of the possibility of working from home because I have colleagues who are on a different state or in a different country, or colleagues who are working from site, they're working remotely. So
Mm.
what happened there is that there's a sudden shock that everyone suddenly wouldn't be able to be at home. But then the problem there is the IT had to set up each and every computers to be accessible remotely. That's one
In
part.
sync.
Yeah, instantly. Of course, it's government mandated and everyone has to work from home. But then the company is already aware of working from home because it happens when you have projects on site or when employees are actually outside of UAE and other countries and other, um the changes in pandemic. I think for my team, I work in the concept design team. So we do the initial stages of projects and we do the concept and thinking about designs of the projects that we get in, primarily I'm also part of the management, which also is part of the bidding process to get in projects within the company. So for my part, I really did not slow down, if I may say, because my team has been very busy at a time. We needed to win more projects. But what happened there was some of the projects had to stop because the construction had to stop and not, although they were, yeah, some of the projects had to stop, particularly if someone on the site tested positive, the whole project stops. So that actually
Mm.
affected the flow of the financial aspects of that one is is a lot. Let's
Mm.
say to a company who has 200 employees. But personally, on a micro basis for teams, the challenge that I had during that time with my team was some of my colleagues are not really fortunate to have their own flats, or they have to share in batch accommodations, and so their connection, although they are allowed to have that remote connection, the challenge there was first they must have a good computer access. So that not everyone would have that, and they would have that internet access that is really good. If everyone within the house or the flat that they live in are actually working from home and everyone is getting that data in, which normally doesn't is not being
Mm.
used, that was a challenge for some of them. But thank God throughout that pandemic, we got passed through it, and it actually enables the company to open up to more possibilities or ways on how to deal with, there are options. Unlike before, working from home is just a taboo, or even for mothers who wanted to work from home, it's a taboo. It's just an idea on the mind that you cannot really do that. But now, since the 2020 and the pandemic, there's a possibility that you can do your work from home. Uh, Someone is talking in the background. And then at the same time, what I experienced at the time is that when we had the clients at the time were very very what do you call that? They were very I'm not really the word was probably efficient in asking for things right away, because
Mm.
everyone's still in a hurry and it's not really slowing down because everyone is in a hurry to finish up projects, because once everything opens up, they're not everyone was not really stuck about the situation, but everyone is thinking ahead of that, that everything will open up and we have to prepare for that. Similar things to our clients at the time. So when things come up, tourism will boom, education will boom, hospitality, education, commercial, retail sector will boom, and everyone was just looking for that. So for us it was kind of good. But yeah, projects stopping, projects not moving further, and clients would have to decline on some of the project. That is a huge financial
Mm.
problem for corporate. But then team wise, I am very fortunate that I work with a team that's very dedicated and talented. I'm very proud of them. Although some of them are really young, but I can see that they are really talented. And the character and skill set that they have, we had this culture within the team that okay, we set a deadline and we meet that, and we all understand each other and support each other. So when one of my teammates wasn't able to give us the drawing, another one from home has called me up, can I help on this one because this person, our colleague, is not able to do that. So that's the kind of camaraderie that we have built in the company, which was really really helpful during the time that we had to work remotely. And then at the same time, we had to go back right away in the company, in the office when it was lifted up. It was just my team who was really working in the company when all the computers are just and the monitors are moving because people are working from home. So we had the choice to work from home or work in the office. My team decided that we prefer to be in the office and have that physical interaction and physical coordination and collaboration with them. So I think there are good sides and good sides to that. There was someone in the background. But anyways, thank you.
How about you, Dr. Saji? Especially that you are teaching. What are the hindrances or struggles in that one?
The hindrances and struggles were actually like this: somebody's walking or talking in the background. Most of the times is the parents talking to their other child, so in terms of teaching, it did hit us, like Christine said. When it came down heavily, and then but strangely, we were one of the
We
first schools
managed.
in Manipal who quickly went on to online mode without much of a trouble. So of course there was a few. First we tried with Zoom, then with WebEx, and finally we landed on MS Teams. So in terms of choosing the platform and what works with iPad, this, that, everything we used to do, and it just went on brilliantly after that. But yeah, the usual hindrances were obviously like the connection issues, and some people, those who were probably stuck in back in India, the connections were a problem. Their electricity would go off, and they would be lost. And but then of course we started recording the sessions. So the pandemic, we are still seeing it as as a thing that will soon go away. And in fact, some of our students produced brilliant work during the pandemic.
Yeah. Mm.
And even that was shocking. Like, we were wondering, and that challenged my own perhaps old world thinking that studio culture and
Mm.
architecture must happen in the studio.
Mm.
I still believe it. But I think that if you are interested, and if you learn from your peers and your teachers, then I think you can also do it. It's online if that's possible. So they did some brilliant work, and we were quite shocked to see that that, because we were not expecting anything. To be honest, when pandemic hit, all the teachers here, we already let our guards down in a way. We said that we used to grade like this. Now we should look at here, or perhaps even lower. So we won't keep our expectations high. But that didn't happen. In fact, we had to go higher up. We were, all right, we are seeing it something else.
Mm.
We are seeing
Mm.
something new. So yeah, but again, it's a passing phase, hopefully, and we are all, anyways, we are thinking that there'll be 100% attendance. So back to studio kind of thing. So we're excited
Mm.
about it right now.
Yeah, it's undeniably that COVID affected everyone here, but it's good to know that our guests have team that are willing to help them indeed, and also it's really a problem. Also in the Philippines,
Yeah.
I was able to be disconnected a while ago because of the internet, but
Mm.
it's really a challenge.
I think what's challenging
But
there is
you
just
just have to cope up with it.
yeah, for
Yeah.
for for since your generation, you're much more connected isolated and connected at the same time because you're much more into technology.
Yeah.
So for your generation, it wasn't that critical. It's
Yeah.
actually within the older generation which had to go back and to be immersed directly in technology. That was a
Mm.
bit challenging there, but I think for your generation. But at the same time, I feel that for a freshman at last year might be a bit difficult because training remotely when you're actually new in the course, like architecture course, that might be a bit difficult. And just like what Dr. Shaji mentioned earlier, that is it's a bit of challenge because you would want that freshman to be able to learn more physically. So but then now there's a possibility to work for no study from home or work from home or even to be in the studio. So now there's more options to learn, which is
Mm.
both beneficial to the
Yeah.
students, to the teacher, to everyone in the professional or the corporate world. Yeah.
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 There are things that cannot be taught inside the classroom, I think. Especially we're skill
Yeah.
based.
Hmm.
Yes, Angela.
Well, working abroad and entering a foreign bird is really a challenge. I'm wondering if I will be able to, cope up with that soon. It will be a really long way for me.
You have
This
5
pandemic has
years.
made things even harder, but there are also perks with it. Yeah, I said yeah. And 5 years or more, I don't think. I really don't know.
You can do it.
It challenge actually challenge all professions, not just architecture. But architecture is not excluded in this from keeping
Mm.
their own safety, the occupant safety in the field, and protecting other people by efficient designs suited for the effects of COVID-19. But it is indeed passion that keeps fueling these architects in this time of crisis.
Mm.
So, yes, I think we can now move on to our last segment for tonight.
Yes. Before we move on to our last segment, kamustahin naman natin. Let's ask about our viewers tonight. I hope you learned a lot from our guests and their experiences abroad, and hopefully it will help you who are having a hard time deciding whether or not they are to work overseas. Personally, I'm skeptical, but I want to explore outside the Philippines. Why don't you read some comments, Angela?
Well, actually, there's a lot of people commenting a while back. There's a question from Andy De Jesus for Dr. Saji. Is it better to have your license first before continuing to pursue graduate degree? What are your insights about this?
We think both our
Uh,
architects can answer that.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
but we
Go on.
first we can start with Dr. Saji.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, see, in my case, it was slightly awkward and I find it slightly embarrassing to share, but I will share it anyways because it's not a hidden thing. Well, in that whole commotion of applying for masters and all, and in that thing that I would be studying soon after bachelor's, I would be going to do my masters. I did not apply for the Council of Architecture registration. All right,
Mhm.
and that is essentially the license that gives
Mhm.
you the license to practice in India.
Mhm.
And I forgot about it, and it never clicked. My friends had applied, but they didn't tell me, or maybe they told I was not aware, and it never worked. So I was not an architect. So there was no, I didn't get the registration. You'll be surprised. When did I become an architect? Architect in 2015 when I joined Manipal, and then because of Council of Architecture inspection, they said, "All right, Dr. Shaji, you got a PhD, you got a master's, but you are not an architect." I said, "Yeah, well, I am an architect. So where's your Council of Architecture registration?"
Uh,
I said, "Damn it!" And then then I applied. So at the ripe old age of maybe 42, 43, or what was I? Yeah, maybe 44. I became an architect officially. But to be able to practice, obviously you need a license. But what generally happens soon after when you get out of university is that unless you are very well connected, and you have your parents who have clients ready for you, or you are already sitting in your father's seat or mother's seat in an architecture office, things don't come so easily to you. You need to do a lot of legwork. You need to work under someone. At which point you don't really have the signing authority as an architect. You're mostly trying to learn the tricks of the trade, basically. But it's always good to have the license first before you start doing anything else. At least keep that out of the way. At least keep it in your bag, rather. So that when it's needed, you can produce it. Not like me. Don't take my experience, because that's dangerous. In 2015, I told my wife, "Today I'm an architect," and she was like, "You cheated. You never told."
I think it's because in the Philippines it's quite different setting compared to what you have in your country. So for India, I think that's actually acceptable. But I think in the Philippines, the way we are brought up is that after
Yeah, but I
graduation, you
think
aim for, yeah, exactly.
yeah, I think they
It's
are doing that in India also. Now the council is
mm,
thinking of
mm,
introducing exams to qualify,
yeah.
rather than just give it like that.
And the
Mm.
way the culture in the Philippines work
But
is
that's a
that
good system, because then
yeah,
that.
yes, it's actually difficult to find job or career in the Philippines, and when you don't have the license. So the license actually affords you to get
Mm.
into the companies, and otherwise you'll be an intern. You'll be considered as an intern. So
Yes.
that's the major difference. But if so what usually happens in the Philippine setting is that after graduation you get the license and then you go for the graduate degree. You can also do the what Dr. Shaji has done, but I'm not sure if that is actually it's not really that much practice in the Philippines, if I might say. The practice is get your license, just like what Dr. Shaji said, get it out of the way. Once you get the
Yes.
license, then done. Then you move on to master's degree and also PhD, and that's it. And at the end of the day, anyways, it's gonna be an additional credit for yourself. So
Yeah.
whichever course you take, if that's part of the plan, then by all means do it. Well, what I think, what could be a good suggestion is to get the license first, because that is much more connected to the academics. Yeah, the master's is actually further review. So whatever you do in the master's degree, and if you go back to the academics, that's quite much more challenging, because you have to go back to history, you have to go back
Mm.
to structure, you have to
Yeah.
go back to that. But unless if you are a fresh graduate, and where ideas are actually the knowledge that you got from the university is more fresh, that could actually help you gain that license. I think that's the way, if I
Mm.
may suggest, forward. But
Yeah, I think that would be
anyway,
practical. I
yeah,
would say that
yeah, that would
that's
be
that's more
practical. Mm,
practical to get the
mm,
license first. So
mm,
even if you do, see, I chose academia because
mm,
I ended up
mm,
liking it. But
mm,
what if I didn't like academia? What if I wanted to come back to practice? It wouldn't have been possible
that's
because I
right.
didn't
Mm,
have the license. They would
mm,
say that what are you? Simple, right?
that's right.
So it's always to keep it handy. It's better. Yeah.
But at the same time, having the license means you would have to pay yearly for memberships, and I don't know with you, Dr. Shaji, but for us yearly we have to keep
Yeah,
up
yeah.
this amount of membership
No,
fees
we
or
have
organization fees that we have to keep up. So
In
that's
order to
the side
practice.
that's not
we have a
really
lifetime
mentioned
membership
anywhere.
option.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't have
We
that
have a
lifetime
lifetime
here.
membership
Yeah.
option.
Oh, that's really
Yeah.
good. But
So,
for us, it's a privilege that can be taken out from you. So you have to really
oh, okay.
maintain it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
You have
I
to
mean, if we
maintain
do
it from
something, if we
CPDs and
correct.
trainings, and also the membership fees, or otherwise you'll be considered delinquent, or yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And also to what Dr. Saji said a while ago, I may quote Zaha Hadid's statement that if you want an easy life, don't marry an architect, which is
Yeah.
it's really, really true indeed.
No,
And I hope that
I married
answers
a
the
doctor.
question.
I married an architect, another architect.
Oh,
So
Dangerous.
yeah,
I
yeah.
married a
Wow.
From
doctor.
no, he's fantastic. I think the one thing that's positive about it is because I don't have to explain the challenge that I'm going through. When I have to stay up late to do some tasks, I don't have to do a lot of explanation. He
Yeah.
knows right away that it's actually needed, and I don't have to explain myself that I need to do this and that. No more explanation. He understands the struggles.
The dynamic comes natural.
Yeah, but also we cannot really work in one team because
Mhm.
his ideas are different from mine. Otherwise, we'll end up butting each other's heads. Because he's also straightforward and he has his own design ideas, and So, but it's I'm proud of my husband.
Yes.
Hello, husband, you're watching on the
That
other
is
room.
sweet.
Yeah, I think my wife is also
Well,
watching. She's a doctor. So I was quite conscious I will never marry an architect because,
Oh,
it
cool.
was no, because as architecture students, we already understood that there will be ego clashes, and we
Yes.
in a team there would always be some certain ego problems. Because my design is better. How can your design be
Exactly.
better? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I married a doctor, but yeah, fine. It's all fine. At least my health is being checked regularly,
How is
it's a
it with the
lifetime
pandemics
health
now?
insurance.
It's
and
really
and
good.
it's a lifetime case study for her. Like, what
You
is
are
this
the case
visa?
study.
All right. I hope, Miss Andy, I hope that our architects have answered your question.
There are so many risks as well, but it's all about the passion. It's all about the passion, your passion to meet your goal at the end of the day.